These are the extreme lengths Wheels is willing to go to bring you guys an exclusive first drive. It's currently 5 AM and I'm standing on a lonely and deserted dock in Altona, but you see that sexy white shape? That's the first Alfa Romeo 4C to hit Australia. And once we rip the covers off and screw those number plates in, we're going to be the first ones to drive it. So getting early access to a car such as the Alfa 4C comes with certain rules and regulations, especially given this is someone's actual car and it's got 5 kilometres on the clock. So I'm joined by Rob from FCA. So Rob, what can and can't we do with the 4C today?
That's always the question. I mean, this is the first for us because this vehicle, as you said, only has 5 kilometres on it. And we're very, very proud of what it is. We'd like to stay under 100 kilometres if we could and under 4,000 RPM, but I know it's going to be hard for you guys.
So, the Alfa Romeo 4C, an Alfa we are genuinely excited to be driving, and one that feels like we've been asking Alfa Australia to drive for ages. They've had some supply issues out of the factory in Italy, but anyway, the car's here, we've got the keys, and it's bucketing down, of course. Still, we'll start with the numbers. The headline number is weight, or lack thereof. Curb weight is 1,025 kilos, which is almost 300 kilos lighter than a base Porsche Cayman. Power, 177 kilowatts and 350 Newton meters. From a heavily turbocharged 1.75 litre 4-cylinder petrol, which is mid-engined and drives the rear wheels via Alfa's own 6-speed dual-clutch transmission. Brakes, they're the thing that I've been most impressed with here on these twisty mountain roads. The pedal is very firm, but it's so confidence inspiring. You can absolutely bash the pedal and you know that because the 4C is so light, it's going to pull up on its nose. The engine, well, as you know, we've only got 4,000 revs to play with, but in that 4,000 revs, the 4C has impressed already. So translate all of this onto the road and what do you get? Well, you sit in a cockpit that's very driver focused. It's an interior that I'm actually quite impressed with. The 4C copped some criticism on its international launch for having thin plastics and, you know, a back to basics interior, but you can tell the focus has been on lightness, and there are some really beautiful touches in here, like the exposed carbon tub that you have to slide across to get in and a beautifully machined 2-pedal pedal box. There's no doubt that there's a hell of a lot of noise coming from that big turbo and the exhaust pipes. There's also no doubt that it's not the spine-tingling wail you get from the 6-cylinder engine in a Porsche Cayman. But it's interesting and it's hugely involving. You get the deep bass from the turbo engine and there's heaps of turbo flutter. It almost sounds like it's an extra from the Fast and Furious movie. And of course, because there's not much sound deadening going on in here and the engine's straight over your left shoulder, it feels like you're kind of hardwired to the drivetrain, and that's a good thing. It makes you feel involved, connected to the driving experience, and that's exactly what you want. In the short time I've had it, the things that I've found myself wanting are a reverse camera, given that there's virtually zero rear visibility. Storage space in here is also an issue. There's virtually nowhere to chuck anything. There are no door pockets. The glove compartment is a leather sack, which is stitched to the bottom of the dash, and the only other storage in here is a small compartment at the end of the center console. Luggage space is also going to be a bit tricky. There's only one boot and it is tiny, just big enough to take an overnight bag. But then again, you don't really buy a car like this to be hugely practical, do you? The base car is 89 grand, but this one here, which is a special launch edition, which gets lickings of carbon fiber and a few other special tweaks, is 109,000. So that's fairly comparable to a base Porsche Cayman. Now design is a very objective thing, but I don't think anyone would say that the 4C is ugly. Low, wide and short, the 4C really turns heads, and it's beautiful, which is exactly what an Alfa Romeo should be. The Alfa 4C though needs to be more than a great sports car. It needs to rekindle Australia's love affair with Alfa Romeo, which after years of disappointing product has begun to wane. So what better place to gauge the public's reaction than Melbourne's own Little Italy, Luggage Street. So we've just pulled up on Luggage Street, and the Alfa has drawn a huge crowd already. It's a bit of a mad scene here.
Absolutely gorgeous car. I love the sound of it. It's not like any other Alfa I've heard. Do you mind getting a shot of me in it?
No worries.
Beautiful design, pure Italian.
So has the Alfa 4C been worth the wait? Absolutely. It's stunning to look at and it's raw and visceral to drive. We're just going to have to wait for another day when we don't have a rev limit and we're not driving someone's personal car to explore its on-the-limit handling. What is clear though is the 4C straddles the divide between the rawness of a Lotus and the refinement of the Porsche Cayman. And if you ask me, that's a pretty good place for an Alfa to sit.